Welcome to the T-Pac Arcade. Today's game is Seaquest for the Atari 2600. In this 1983 lane shooter from Activision, you've got to hop in a submarine and rescue your treasure diving crew, because sharks. Also because enemy subs, but mostly because sharks. So you rescue divers by submerging into the water and passing over them as they cross the screen. And you want to keep that fire button down to launch torpedoes while you're cruising, because sharks. Also because enemy subs, but mostly because sharks. Once you've got 6 divers on board, you can surface again to cash in some hefty treasure points and repeat the process. The biggest hurdle to success, besides the sharks, is your depleting oxygen. You steadily lose air the longer you stay underwater, and if you don't surface before it runs out, you lose a sub. Surfacing replenishes your oxygen, but you want to avoid doing it before you've got 6 divers, because otherwise you lose one of your diver stock, or even a sub if you don't have any on board. Also, enemies get faster every time you surface, so you're just making life harder for yourself. But sometimes you do have to make the trade-off if the oxygen meter starts blinking and beeping at you, because death by asphyxiation is almost as bad as death by sharks, or enemy subs, but mostly sharks. Surfacing is never 100% safe though, because a patrol sub periodically zips across the top of the screen to smash you. And considering you can't move while your oxygen refills, you want to make sure you're in the clear whenever you come up for air. Basically, there are a lot of ways to end up sleeping with the fishes in this game. Oxygen loss, sharks, enemy subs, sharks, patrol subs, and sharks. But luckily, you get an extra life every time you score 10,000 points. And point values for collected divers, reserve oxygen, and torpedoed enemies increase every time you complete a full rescue. And considering everything speeds up every time you complete a full rescue, you're going to need those bonus subs. That's not to say this game is too difficult though, at least by Activision's own standards for success. Back in the 80s, they sent out sub-club patches to anyone who scored 50,000 points, and I managed to do that after just a handful of games, on novice mode and on expert mode, where your sub's rapid fire is a bit less, rapid. But I'm only a member of the prestigious sub-club in spirit, because it's no longer the 80s, and I don't think Activision is going to send me a patch if I mail them a Polaroid of my TV screen. Visuals in Seaquest aren't the most aesthetically pleasing, but the effort that went into them is certainly admirable. I like how the sharks change color every time the speed increases, and the color gradient at the water surface is pretty fancy for an Atari game. Where Seaquest really shines is in the audio department. Everything has a fun sound effect. The ping when you collect divers, the whoosh of oxygen refills, the neat resonant crash of a torpedoed enemy sub, and most of all, your trampoline-esque, boingy firing effect. It's way less harsh and way more fun than the standard psh 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 that you usually get in games like this. The most novel aspect of Seaquest, and my favorite part of the game, is the whole diver rescue angle. It's a clever twist on the standard lane shooter formula, and fundamentally changes the way you play if you're trying to max your score. If I could change one thing here, I wouldn't. Seaquest is awesome just the way it is. Overall, Seaquest may not be in my absolute top tier of Atari titles, probably because it's about an underwater adventure and there are no pirates anywhere, but from a pure gameplay perspective, it's a masterpiece. Even if, no matter how many points I get, my rescue mission is ultimately doomed, because sharks. Also because enemy subs, but mostly because sharks.